What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Soul Hoops podcast. My name is Jeffrey. I'm joined today by just Ryan. Unfortunately, Matthias' car broke down on his way home to his other house from break, and so he has to drive all day today on a road trip. So unfortunately, we're not being joined by Matthias, but we wish him all the best on his travels back home, and hope he gets there safely this time. But we got a lot to talk about today. News overload in the last 6 hours, I would say. So we're going to be having a packed episode talking about a lot of teams. But before we get into the basketball, how are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing good. I just saw some of my high school friends last night for the last time before we all go back off to college. So bittersweet for sure, but we had a fun time. Yeah. How about you?
I'm doing good. Just got home a couple days ago from I went back to college for a few days, visit my friends for New Year's. So that was fun. Going out tomorrow night to the city, Milwaukee, for birthday celebrations, and gonna hit up the casino as well. So should be a good time. Good time there.
Yeah.
But awesome. Well, let's get right into the basketball. So last night, so we're recording this on January 5th, just for time reference. So last night, the Warriors were playing the Nuggets, and they were absolutely dominating them. Kuminga was having, a breakout game. I'm going to call it that. He's having the type of game where you look back at that and a player's ascension to whatever they become, and you say, this is where he put his mark on what he can be, and that's where it started. I believe he had 18 points in the first half or something like that. Close to that, anyways. And he then was benched by Steve Kerr for the remainder of the game. He did not play following that. So today we got a lot of interesting quotes. Kuminga, were they all from Shams?
So the Kuminga was from Shams, and then we got the Moses Moody information from somewhere else.
Yeah. So the Kuminga one was from Shams. So he pretty much was like he has no trust in Steve Kerr to help him reach his full potential. He's frustrated with the lack of consistent playing time. Moody has been DNP for a good stretch of games here in a row. So Moody pretty much said the same thing. I don't know who that was from. I think it was from The Game, which is usually the ESPN local news station.
Mm-hmm.
And it's looking like there's going to be some real changes made to this roster pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be, right? Kuminga is not wrong at all. And I think he's perfectly justified in feeling the way he's feeling because, in a game where you're going to blow an 18-point lead, you can't bench Kuminga for the last 18 minutes of that game. There's no reason he shouldn't play in that fourth quarter or the second half of the third. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree. And this has been the main criticism of Steve Kerr with this youth movement is inconsistent playing time when there's not players playing ahead of them that are consistent, that actually have shown anything to be considered better than them whatsoever. I mean, like last year, Jeremy Lamb playing consistent minutes over Kuminga and Moody.
Anthony Lamb.
Yeah. Jeremy Lamb is a different guy. Right?
Yeah.
But Anthony Lamb playing over Kuminga at those wing minutes last year made no sense. Moody not having a role last year, despite the backup guards, the guard/wing rotation being Corey Joseph and 10-day contract players, was ridiculous.
Jordan Poole, but he had issues.
Yeah, Jordan Poole, the same thing though. It's just it feels like the Warriors organization over the last 2 years has just been a confidence killer for the for the young players on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just detrimental to what you're trying to develop, to be honest. And I want to say that I think Steve Kerr is a good coach. I'm never going to say he's not, but I think he's a little bit too locked into his ways of what he visions the team to be and what they should be doing and the actual thing that works on court, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The Warriors are unraveling kind of before our eyes. I mean, we're watching it in games. You can see it on Steph's face when things are going wrong, that he doesn't have confidence in this team anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and you still got the Draymond stuff that's going on.
Which he's apparently returning to play soon.
Yeah, he's back in the facility. He's around the team again after 11 games of being away from the team. So he should be coming back, which might help things. It might honestly cause more of a distraction. We'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, the two timelines thing, we always bring it up when teams who are, who want to be contenders are also trying to nurture, the young guys. It's really hard to do both successfully. Like, you look through NBA history, only a few times have teams actually successfully been able to extend their championship window and also kind of raise the young guys and develop them and let them take over the reins when the old guys are done. Like,
especially
we saw that with the Spurs a little bit, but even then Kawhi ended up leaving, and it was
that was a very different situation. That's what I was going to say. That's a good. I'm glad that you said that. Didn't mean to try to cut you off there, but it's very interesting because, like, if you use the Spurs, for example, Kawhi was integrated into the system well as a role player first that then blossomed into a star player.
Yeah.
It looks like the Warriors are trying to find a star young player that doesn't need to develop, which doesn't work at all. It doesn't work.
And I mean, the only way you can make the two timelines thing work is if you nail your draft picks. And they didn't, right? They picked James Wiseman at 2 in 2020. He is looking like one of the biggest busts the last 10 years. In 2021, they picked Jonathan Kuminga over Franz Wagner. I know Trey Murphy. They picked Kuminga over a lot of guys that could definitely have helped.
Yeah, and Moody was the same draft class. They had two.
Moody was the same draft class. They took him over guys that could have helped contribute. They didn't. They messed up on those draft picks. Not to say that Kuminga and Moody are bad players, because I think they are good players and they're going to continue to improve and be especially good players on good teams. But they miss on those draft picks.
Especially because I'll say this. It makes it even worse because I was always fine with them using those picks on actual players and not trading them. But if you aren't going to play these young players when you draft them in the top 10 draft picks, by the way, when you're drafting a guy in the top 10 and you're not going to play him, what is the point of keeping those draft picks and actually drafting them? It makes no sense. I mean, when you're a good team, usually young players don't play a lot of minutes. The Bucks don't have a lot of young players in their rotation up until this year, which now they've had to go with sort of a youth movement because of, the team is so expensive. But it's like those are late first round picks. Even Jordan Poole, late first round pick, went to the G League, and he really developed in a season where Curry, Clay, and Draymond were hurt for most of the year. And they were horrible. And that was the year they picked Wiseman the next year. And it also seems like they don't want to develop player skill sets alongside of the system. They want the player skill sets to develop to be the system. And honestly, that's just not how basketball play is played. You have this amazing system because of the players that you have on the roster or had in the roster during that championship run. You don't have the prime level of those players anymore. So I think that there's just been a disconnect in the level of play that you really can expect from these players because they haven't had time to develop a true role on this team. What is Kuminga's role? What is Moody's role? Is Moody's role catch and shoot and defense? Okay. But why do you expect him to put the ball on the floor then when he is out there? Is Kuminga's role defense and cutting? Why is he not playing, more towards the rim? And why isn't he playing in the lineups are horrible? Like Kuminga's never in lineups with players like that actually are going to benefit his play style. Moody realistically should be able to play. He's a 36% for 3-point shooter on 3 attempts a game. You're getting 1 to 2 threes a game out of him. He should be able to sit in the corner.
They're good players.
Yeah. And I think whatever team gets them, they're going to butt into. I'm very convinced if the Warriors are going to do, which we can honestly, I want to use this as a transition period. Honestly, if the Warriors are going to probably have to overpay because honestly, you have Steph Curry. Steph Curry, even though we talked about it in the last episode, we kind of talked about it now. He was very good at the beginning of the year, like best in the world level at the beginning of the year. He started to fall off. I think that's more a product of what's going on around him than his actual ability.
Yeah.
But you still have Steph Curry. Depending where you rank him this season, still a top 5-ish player in the world, in the game. So you still have a player like that. You should be all in at all times, no matter what your timeline looks like. And I think they're going to have to overpay in the trade market. They're going to end up overpaying in the trade market for somebody. But we can kind of transition to this. Pascal Siakam is expected to be shopped and traded. Pretty much expected to be traded. If you overpay for a Pascal, the Raptors are licking their lips on the sell at the freaking assets that they are going to get for Pascal and OG Anunoby. If you told me at the beginning of the season that the Raptors would possibly be able to get off of this into this new era with a return of RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Moses Moody, and Kuminga, or one or the other, and picks, because the Warriors are going to have to give up picks. They don't have a young enough player that's good enough. And maybe like a Wiggins, I'd be like, no way, that's way too much. There's no way they got that much. And it's going to be perfect for them. And they're going to be on an OKC rebuild. They're going to get Quickly's going to be their player they try to develop into a star. Moody and Kuminga are going to be the guys they try to develop. They're going to be good again. It's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But speaking of Pascal, like we said, he's going to most likely get traded. I'm really interested to see if one of the worst teams tries to make a move for him. Or it's going to be, what is it called? Or if it's going to be a team that's trying to be a contender.
I hope for Pascal's sake.
Detroit is interested.
I'm like writing that off my mind as something that's not going to happen. Personally, I
don't think it's happened, but I think it would be a hilarious day on Twitter on the trade deadline if Pascal got shipped to Detroit.
Yeah,
because he's not resigning.
No.
So, whatever. But yeah, do you have any teams that you would like Pascal on? I don't mind the Warriors fit.
As far as fit goes, I love the Warriors fit.
I just think it's going to get a little weird because I think Draymond moves to I think, as Warriors fans have complained about, the 3-guard lineup is probably gone in that situation. You're probably starting Steph, Clay, Draymond, Pascal, Looney, Tracy Jackson Davis.
Yeah. I love the fit as far as Pascal goes in the Warriors. A guy who just has a great feel for the game. A really skilled passer, Pascal Siakam. The jump shot comes and goes with him, but he's got that mid range he can always go to. Good finisher inside. He's got length. He can defend. I think he fills a lot of the holes that the Warriors do have. I just don't know if the Warriors are going to be that aggressive trying to make a move. I think them trading for Pascal, it does scream desperate a little bit. And they would have to give up Kuminga and Moody and picks to get him. And that's another guy who's on a max contract, and that's a lot of money they're paying to that team. I just don't know if they're willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I agree.
I like the fit.
He's
but
making 30. He's making
just can't see it.
37. He's making 37 million. He's probably going to demand 40 next year.
Yeah, I think a team will give him the max.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
But if there's a team that doesn't care about paying the tax, it is the Warriors.
Mhm. Yeah,
They're like the most expensive team of all time, but not a close margin.
yeah. A team I thought of that's interesting is Philly for Pascal.
Yeah, that would be. I think that would be an interesting fit as well.
Yeah.
You know, putting him next to.
Embiid and Maxey gives them like a third scoring punch, a guy that can do everything, can defend a little bit. Definitely an upgrade over Tobias Harris or
Yeah, let's look at
whoever like that.
Let's look
I
at.
kind of like that fit.
Would you
Personally.
like Dallas? I would like
Dallas? I would like Dallas, but I think they're fine where they're at now. Because, they get Kyrie, with Luka and Kyrie playing, like that team is good.
Yeah.
And I don't think they need to ship out a bunch of pieces to get Pascal Siakam.
Well,
And it's not like the Mavericks have a lot of trade pieces anyway. Like Derek Lively's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Let's look here. Well, hey, we've seen it though.
We have
The Raptors are interested in getting players. I actually enjoy that.
They don't give a shit. Yeah. They don't care.
They don't care what the picks. So you could probably put a package together of like, man, his contracts would be tough. I mean, you're gonna have to lose Tim Hardaway Jr., which is tough. That's really tough.
Yeah, because he's been really good for them.
You could probably, but I think if for a Pascal level player, you're good on that. You could probably put together a package of Tim Hardaway Jr., Rashawn Holmes, and Maxi Kleber. That gets it. That gets it done. It's about 40 million. Get you Pascal. Obviously you don't want to part with Tim Hardaway Jr., but I mean, you just saw what the Knicks were willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I would be more than like Tim Hardaway Jr. has been really good, but he's Tim Hardaway Jr. at the end of the day,
Yeah. And Kleber is like, he's fine, but I don't think they really need him because of Lively now.
Lively, and then they still have Dwight Powell to be the backup five, which Dwight Powell isn't good, but like Dwight Powell is one of those players where it's like he is always going to be in the team's rotation, just cause
he's been on that team for like 10 years.
Yeah, he's the GOAT for that.
It's so rare for like a non-star player to be in the same team for that long. Like that that never happens. It's weird. It's really weird.
Plus, you could probably, I mean, if you really want to take a bet, you got a Jaden Hardy that you can bet to be your bench scorer. If you really want to take a bet on that, maybe you throw in a guy like Josh Green or Omax because they haven't really, Omax really hasn't been playing as much as you'd probably like him to. And you give him a young player and contract to match, and they can trade one. They can trade one first. They can trade their 2025 first. Since you throw one first and you try to re-sign them, or maybe give them their second, the Toronto their second back in a protected first.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if the Mavs do get Pascal, and you can run a lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Grant Will, Pascal, Lively, like that's a very good starting lineup, and I think that's a team that can make the conference finals, that can win the conference finals. Like that's a really good team.
Yes, I agree.
My thing is like, I kind of want Dallas to hold on to what they have and just see how far the Luka and Kyrie thing can really take them, because I think it would be a little bit ill-advised to kind of jump the gun maybe and pay for another star when you might not need one.
That's true.
And depth has always been a concern for that team, and giving up more depth for another star, I think would be kind of, again, it would be aggressive for sure.
Yes, it would be aggressive, and the Mavericks have been known to be aggressive. Clearly, they do not care. They will mortgage whatever they have to. They want to be a good team. Even though Mark Cuban sold his ownership stake, but still maintains control of the team, which is honestly a crazy deal. That's honestly
an awesome deal. Yeah,
that'd be sick though. Hey, but some rich people don't want to actually run a basketball team. Some rich people just want to make money off of a basketball team. So
yeah,
don't really blame them there.
Yeah,
But yeah, Pascal, very intriguing player. The only problem, the 37 million is hard to match.
Yeah. I do want to talk about one team that I personally really want to see. It's Indy for
Okay. Yeah.
Pascal. I think Indy is just a great fit because you look at the standings and, you know, because of their bad defense, like they're just bound to go on hot streaks and
Well,
slumps.
they own us apparently. So
Yeah, they do. Halliburton really stole Dame's chain. You know that?
yeah, that was that's
Man.
I will say though, I think the audio came out of Tyrese Halliburton saying like you're not like that or something. I was like, all right, man. I don't want to be an ass, but he's from Wisconsin. He's from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Not the toughest neighborhood on the block, if I will say. So I think that was hilarious. But
yeah. But
yeah.
back to the Pascal thing, like you look at the standings right now, the Pacers are 19-14.
Yeah.
They're a good team. They've won 5 straight. They're at the 5 seed. I think, you know,
this
things
play
change.
This 5 through 8 seed is crazy. Even the 4th seed, it's all every 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all have 19 wins, and the Heat have 20.
Yeah, and Brooklyn has 15, and yeah, like things could definitely change between now and the trade deadline. But like, if I'm Indy, I do make that aggressive move because they have expendable pieces. They only have 1 star on the team, and if they want to win a first round playoff series or even like be close to winning a first round playoff series, they need to get another offensive star and they need to get someone who can help the defense. And Pascal Siakam, he isn't like a
stopper.
He doesn't fix your defense, but you know, he's big.
He's not food.
He's long. He's not food. You can't pick on him like you can with some other guys like Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's a cone.
Yeah,
he just is. I like Obi Toppin too, but that's how it is.
Yeah. I mean, when you're running out lineups where Benedict Mathurin and Aaron Nesmith are your power forwards, I mean, it's just they're not even good guard defenders, and they're playing power forward for you. Yeah. Which is funny because why draft Jarris Walker if he's not going to play when your biggest need is front court defense? But whatever. A package from him, Bruce Brown, Buddy Hield, probably. And one of the young guys, maybe you throw like a Isaiah Jackson or a Jalen Smith back. I think Isaiah Jackson could be an interesting prospect for the. He kind of fits the Toronto mold of player who is probably going to be looking for a backup 5 now. I mean, they still have Chris Boucher, but not really a center.
Yeah, not really.
Because Bruce Brown's been not that great for them. I see a lot of Pacers fans complaining about Bruce Brown.
Yeah, he's missed time too, and I think he could be moved for Pascal.
Yeah. Plus, his contract is fake. Like it's like $22 million. It's like the first year is the only guaranteed year. So you trade him, and clearly he did not go to Indy to like build. He just wanted the bag. Like let's be real.
Yeah.
He's a 6 man making the minimum for his entire year, for his entire career, and then he gets a contract worth $22 million. So Toronto could just be like, yeah, we'll cut you after the season, and you won't lose on any guaranteed money, and you can go sign with a contender again that has cap space or go wherever you want to do.
What do you think about Atlanta for a team?
Is
that still a thing, or is it?
I don't think it's a thing. Everything's pointing to Atlanta just selling. Like, I mean, they might just to get some of their contracts off because like they still have DeAndre Hunter for 4 years, and
that's rough.
Like DeAndre Hunter's 4 years, like 100-something million. Capella still has $40 million on his contract. That's rough. I mean, if you want to get Capella and Hunter's contracts off now. Trade him for Pascal, get him out of there. Like bad contracts, maybe you don't play your young guys. Throw AJ Griffin in the trade in a first and a singular first, and there you go. Like give them Sacramento's first from this year. It's not going to be a lottery. It's protected. It's a lottery protected pick. They're not going to be in the lottery. Throw Sacramento's pick to them, and get Pascal. I would rather buy Pascal for bad contracts and a pick and one young guy who doesn't play, then you trading good guys for him, and then still have DeJounte you can move. DeJounte is a really easy contract to move.
He's getting moved for sure.
He's gonna be
he's getting moved.
Nick or Laker probably.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of. People are talking about the Nick fit. I'm really not a fan of it because I think you're just building the Hawks 2.0 at that point. Like,
yeah,
we've seen he's not a good off-ball player. Like,
that can't work.
I would really like DeJounte in LA. I'm gonna say that. I would really like DeJounte in LA. If LA wasn't gonna be a freaking idiot and be like so protective over Austin Reeves, I would just say retool this entire team, which I still think they should, which we'll talk about the Lakers, which I guess, but retool this entire team. I mean, it's time. This team does not work together. Every single free agent signing you put on, bad. They're none of them are good. All the guys you extended regressed. Like Rui regressed from last year. D'Lo, I have been a D'Lo fan for like so long. I was a fan of him in Brooklyn. I was happy when he went to Minnesota. I thought it'd be a good fit for him. It was not. Yeah. I thought he could maybe turn, but it's not working. It's really not working.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, I know what it is, and it's because like he doesn't play winning basketball. He just doesn't. And I've always had a soft spot for D'Lo. When he was in Minnesota, I always enjoyed watching D'Lo play, or not always, but I've always liked D'Lo as a person and as a player, but no team has ever won with him as like a focal point, right? Like,
yeah,
the Lakers had to bench him in the playoffs last year because he just couldn't play. He's not a winning player. He hasn't been a winning player anywhere he's really been. It's just rough for D'Lo. It's just, yeah. The Lakers they're a mess right now. Like, and that's with LeBron and AD playing great and being healthy this season. Like, they've barely missed any time, and they're still a game under 500 right now.
If I was the Lakers, like I said before, I would be going full retool. I get DeJounte, and I try to get DeJounte and LaVine, and I would try to go. I think that team would fit a lot better. You're sacrificing some of your depth, but the depth is playing like ass anyway. So who cares? Like I mean, but you're gonna have to get rid of Reeves. But it's like Reeves is a 25-year-old, like third year player, whatever it is. Like, I don't think people talk about Reeves' potential. I don't think Reeves has that much more potential to get much better than what he is right now. I really don't.
No.
I think at his best, he could be a borderline, like, oh, 1 year he has a huge scoring increase for whatever reason. Oh, he's a borderline all-star guy that we talk about as like a fake all-star play-in guy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best you're going to get out of him. And I mean, you have such tradable contracts, man. You have such tradable contracts.
They've got a ton. D'Angelo Russell, perfect, like medium-sized contracts. Austin Reeves, medium-sized contract. Taurean Prince, guys like Christian Wood can go.
Gabe Vincent's Gabe Vincent is the perfect trade contract matching player. $10 million is perfect. Mm-hmm. Like, if you were to really and here's the thing, the Lakers are just too sensitive about their young players, and Lakers fans are too sensitive about their young players. They're not that good, to be honest. Like Max Christie, I'm sorry to tell you, I think he could be a good player. He has not played like any meaningful NBA minutes in his entire career. He's probably not going to be good. He's like, that's just how it is. Maxwell Lewis, I'm actually pretty high on from the draft last year. He's just absolute sniper. So you might want to keep him, but it's just like Jalen Hood-Schifino, what use do you really have for him, to be honest? Like, you drafted him over rookies that were way better than him and higher ranked on the board. So
yeah, I would be aggressive if I were them too. Just
I would
because
be too, because
the West is also wide open. Like Denver, I'm taking them over any team right now just because they get the benefit of the doubt in my mind, but they have holes. They have exploitable weaknesses. Minnesota, they're the 1 seed, but their offense is awful sometimes. And like there are playoff questions about them. Thunder, they're a great team, but like this would be their core's first playoff experience this year. Like
we've seen
the Clippers, they're like you can ever count on the Clippers. The Kings, they're still like building.
Their defense is still bad.
Avs are building. The Rockets are young. Like the Lakers, if they made aggressive trades, they could come out the West. Like it is wide open.
And I wanted to bring up this point. I haven't tweeted it. I was actually thinking about writing my first ever article recently.
Okay.
Which I think, but and I want to talk about this topic. Do you think we're at a point in the NBA where we are in a consolidation league? And what I mean by that is whoever has the best 6 to 7 man rotation is probably going to win every playoff series.
Yeah.
I have just been thinking about this with like the Celtics this year. Like, no matter, they've had injuries and they still dominate every game because their star power for who is playing, like Drew Holiday goes down, you just put Derek White at the 1, and then you just move Jaylen Brown to the 2. You start Al Horford at the 5. You know, if one of your wings gets hurt, same thing. Like you're just moving Al Horford in, who's a quality player still. He's taken a lot of steps back this year, but he can still sit in the corner on offense, and he's a very aware defender. He's a smart defender. But it's just like, and I've been thinking about this with the Bucks, and I've been thinking about this with all these teams. It's like, I would rather have the best 6 to 7 man rotation in the NBA than have the best 8 man rotation in the NBA, or 9 man rotation when it comes to play. Like, and I just, for the Lakers right now, I think they went depth because they haven't had the quality depth in a few years. I think they went the depth route, but I just want to say, I think the Lakers have always gone star hunting at the wrong time for the wrong player. Like, you go star hunting when the player is a clear upgrade and fit upgrade. Like the Bucks with Dame, you get Dame because he's a better. What he provides is what you need.
Yeah,
you don't go get Russell Westbrook to be your third option. And Russ was coming off a good year in Washington, but like his shooting,
yes,
not
he was coming off. He had a great year in Washington in 2021. Like
30,
they made the playoffs.
Third year in a row, averaging a triple double.
He had a great season. That second half of the season, especially, was great. But like everybody knew at the time when we saw that trade, like that's not the player you put around LeBron and AD.
Yeah,
it's so like I don't know if it's just me, but like the recipe to build on LeBron has been surround him with shooters, and that's been the recipe for 20 years. And
now it's a little different.
It's a little bit different, sure, but the Westbrook trade was awful, and that set him back. And when they traded Westbrook, they got D'Lo and Vanderbilt and Beasley, and that's, at the time I thought that was a good return, but now it's looking like that's not a great return because those guys can't play in the playoffs.
They gave up Kyle Kuzma and KCP.
Yeah, two guys who, you know,
KCP just won a championship, doing exactly what he did in LA. By the way,
and Kuzma just got paid.
Kuzma looks like
he's
all-star quality player. If Kuzma wasn't on the Wizards, he'd probably be an all-star.
I mean, yeah, and like speaking of Kuzma, just for a second, if teams don't want to go all in on Pascal, go for Kuzma. The Mavs go for Kuzma.
They said he was available. They said he's available.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, if I was the Lakers, I would be trying to just get an explosive offensive weapon, and that's your LaVine. You go get, and then I would be getting something to play at point guard that isn't D'Angelo Russell. Like,
yeah, you've got to find something else.
DeJounte, and if you could come out of the trade deadline with DeJounte and LaVine, who both want to play for the Lakers. Like, they're both clutch athletes. They want to play for the Lakers.
Yeah.
I think I would take this team significantly more serious because if you're running out a lineup of DeJounte, LaVine, LeBron, AD, and then whoever you don't like. If you just put
Cam Reddish,
Cam Reddish
Taurean
at
Prince,
the 3,
whoever.
Taurean Prince at the Cam Reddish could probably play the 3 in that sense because he's been very good defensively this year, but his shot's been very up and down. But you don't need the offense anymore in the starting lineup, and they've already been starting him anyways. So whatever. And then at the bench, I don't know who you'd all be moving for him. But I think D'Angelo Russell going to. I think you just call Atlanta and you call Chicago and you see what they want fit wise.
Yeah.
And I think D'Lo is a perfect piece for Chicago. He's 27, but he's a good point guard, and they have no good point guards on them. I mean, Kobe White's good, but I think Kobe White's more of a shooting guard, but he's been playing the 1. He's a scorer.
Yeah.
And the Hawks might want a Rui, and they might want an Austin Reeves, and I bet the Hawks would be more than happy to take Jared Vanderbilt because playing alongside Trae Young, guess what? He can catch lobs and set picks and play defense, do nothing else. So I don't know if it's possible. I would have to play around in Fanspo, and I don't want to play around in Fanspo the whole time. But yeah, so that would be interesting. 3-team trade maybe where one of these teams can get Capella, maybe or something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you go really crazy and you ship off Capella and Hunter for Pascal, and then you trade DeJounte and you bring in a bunch of salary. That's like $60 million worth. But it also looks like I want to say this about the Raptors quick as well. Seems like they are looking to be they want contract shedding. They want to shed contracts. So also I think I believe we've actually have misspoke on the pod before. So apparently their first round pick is not unprotected. It's top 6 protected. So if they do go a little bit tank mode here for the last few, they get it, or the odds come in their favor. They get a top 6 pick. They keep it. So we could be looking at a generational midseason from Masai Ujiri. He wrote him off, but they wrote him off, but he did not write back.
He might beat the washed allegations. Masai. I mean, the more and more I watch the Raptors now that they've made that trade, the more and more I love it. Like Quickly is just he
had a really good game the other day. He had like 25, right?
Yeah. Quickly is the perfect player for that team. Like that's exactly who they need. A guy like Quickly. Like you look at Quickly now, he could do what Tyrese Maxey is doing next season.
Yep.
He could. Like, I think that was just a great trade by the Raptors. And RJ, we're going to see what happens with him and how he kind of fits in that team. But like, he looks good. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we got a few more teams. So we talked about the Pacers a little bit. Let's talk quickly about Detroit. Apparently, the report came out that Detroit is not going to be selling most of their pieces, which makes sense. They're all ass, and you only have young players. Why would you trade them away? They're going to be looking to bring in pieces to build around Cade, which makes sense. Look for role players, trade some of these contracts and stuff, and get real players in the rotation to help you win some games, which is a bad idea. If you want to move off of a Bagley's DNP, that's $12 million. You might be able to throw some seconds, try to get a decent role player for him. Joe Harris, $20 million. Shed these contracts, bring in some real role players that actually are good players. Alec Burks, Monte Morris, all these guys are on expiring deals, which is good. Like Joe Harris, a rebuilding team, the Spurs might send you something for Joe Harris. Maybe you send them a pick, they'll send you someone that's not really in the rotation, an actual decent player. Bagley, same thing. One of these teams that has cap space that's a younger team, they might take on a Bagley contract and just say, hey, we'll send you a role player. something like that, OKC-esque, which I like the idea of doing so, because I think they've been good. But these are the list of the expiring contracts that they have on the roster. Joe Harris, $20 million, Wiseman, $12 million, Alec Burks, $10 million, Monte Morris, $9.8 million. Kevin Knox is a minimum, and Isaiah Livers is also a minimum. You're probably not getting anything. And I said Killian Hayes for $7 million. So I wouldn't mind it. I think they can. I think they can move some stuff around, and just get real players on the roster. You don't need to look to win, but just get real players on the roster, and that's really what you need to do.
Yeah, on Twitter there has been a reaction to people seeing that like the Pistons are going to try to win now, but they're already at rock bottom. Like how can they sell? What is there to sell? Even nothing.
Yes.
Like they don't have anything. Like the only way they can go is up. And maybe they do make a trade for Pascal Siakam. Let's say they do that. And maybe, I mean, it would be hard for them to lose the 15th seed at this point, just considering like how bad they've been. But maybe your draft odds are a little bit worse, but just getting some wins, I think, would mean a lot to that franchise and that team.
Ooh. I'm taking the credit for this. Per Chris Piercianian. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Sorry, buddy. Knicks are interested in Malcolm Brogdon. We called it first here on Soul Hoops Pod. I'm going to be contacting the Dunk Central. We were first on this. I'm the scoop, which makes sense. They need a bench guard so bad.
Look at us with the sources.
Yeah,
we're reporting.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start tweeting stuff. Sources say within the Bucks organization that blah blah blah.
You know what we should do? We should start tweeting stuff out and be like, per source at Soul Hoops Podcast. So it looks like a real source.
Yeah. Yeah. So that should be interesting. Chris Haynes is doing a Malik Beasley interview.
Wow.
Right now. Okay. Interesting player. Just saw that on Twitter. So figure out what
it's that Dame connection.
Dude.
That's what it is.
I've never seen so much news about the Bucks come out about their actual players ever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that Chris Haynes is Giannis's wife, or I don't know if they're married or not, but whatever. His like partner is they're like cousins, Chris Haynes and his like yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's weird.
Yeah, I listened to a Chris Haynes pod where he was talking about it. I was like, that is the most random thing ever.
That's random.
He said that he went to like a family because he's from Arizona. And he said went to this family thing, and this was like when Giannis like second or third year. And he was like, oh yeah, like his family was like, oh yeah, like Maria's like dating like moving to Milwaukee. He's like, why? And he got a job or whatever. He's like, and then he started dating, and then he's like, yeah, and she's dating this NBA player, this Greek guy, and he's like, what? So funny. I think it was hilarious. I think it is hilarious. It's a hilarious connection.
Sometimes when like, you can trace back connections sometimes, like with what just happened with OG, like OG Anunoby, his agent has some like,
his agent's dad is the GM.
Yeah, and is like they've got CAA.
Yeah, man, this is the second time, man. This is the second time. Brunson and OG. If OG Anunoby takes a huge pay cut, I need this investigated. Brunson took that weird declining contract.
Yep.
Because his dad is a shooting coach, and now OG's gonna take it because his agent's dad is the GM. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah, like all the stuff we hear about Clutch on the West Coast, it's the same with CAA in the Knicks. Like, if you have a CAA connection, like you will be on the Knicks, and you will take a pay cut to be there.
Yeah, because the dad founded CAA.
Yeah.
So like he like helps them get bonuses and shit. It's so stupid, so dumb. This is why baseball market teams are just this is the real thing. You can't get players to just take pay cuts because your dad works for the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would really like we talked about in last episode with the OG trade. If you want to check out that video for anybody watching, but yeah, Malcolm Brown would be a great fit off the bench. You wouldn't have to give up much for it.
Yeah,
I'd be all in on that.
same.
Yeah. Well, the
All right.
last team we do want to talk about, though,
Yeah, Kings.
the Kings. So the Kings are apparently open for business at this trade deadline. Last deadline, people thought they might try to make a move to really boost themselves. They did not. They tried to see, similar to what you said about the Mavs. They did that last year. They stood pat. They see where they could go with the team they have, and they tried to do that this offseason as well. They didn't use their cap space to bring anybody in. They decided to just extend Harrison Barnes. But apparently, Davion Mitchell, Kevin Huerter, and Harrison Barnes are all available. I believe it was according to Jake Fisher. What do you think about those three guys as trade targets?
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense, right? Like, Kevin Huerter has been having a bad year. Harrison Barnes, he's less essential to that team now that Keegan Murray has taken more steps and has kind of phased him out. Davion Mitchell, this isn't going to be the team for him to really grow. And so it's not surprising that these guys could be on the move. But I'm very intrigued to see where these guys might go, because I think Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, like, these are guys that can help a contender win. Like, these are serious role players. And again, even though Kevin Huerter's been having a bad year, like, he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. And a team like the Timberwolves, like, I would love Kevin Huerter on the Timberwolves with his shooting and what he brings.
They would love Nah. They would love Nah.
They would, but not happening.
Yeah, probably not happening. I'm so mad that they killed. Oh my god, you got him for free.
Any team that makes a deal with the Wolves is probably getting Kyle Anderson in return.
Which plays good defense.
Plays good defense. Offense is a question, but like, I think that's a player the Kings could really use in that team. Kyle Anderson. So
yeah, Kevin Huerter's contract is $15 million only, so it's really not hard to match that salary.
It's not hard at all. Kyle Anderson and Shake Milton for the Wolves could match that
and
easily.
And then a main guy, Jordan McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Or you do Kyle Anderson, Shake Milton,
Wendell Moore.
Wendell Moore.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Or the Kings could like make a trade for like Zach LaVine or like a star if they really wanted to.
Ooh.
Like,
yeah, I would like that. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I think LaVine in particular, I don't know about, because I think Malik Monk kind of does exactly what LaVine does.
But Monk is your sixth man.
Yeah. I mean, he's been starting lately though over Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, because Kevin Huerter's
been bad this year. He's been really bad.
Yeah,
weird.
Yeah, he is a very jump shot. He's a jump shot dependent player, and his jump shot's not falling. So what else is he doing for you? He's not 3-and-D. I saw someone under a Bucks post today say, "Oh, Huerter's a 3-and-D put." Nope, just three, just three. We already got that guy on the roster. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're moving Harrison Barnes, with how good Keegan Murray's been this year, you're moving Harrison Barnes. You're slotting Keegan Murray to play the 4 full time.
Yeah.
And then, if you're trading Kevin Huerter and Harrison Barnes, you're really looking to Chris Duarte has been starting as well over Huerter. I would get weary of trading of these guys. I mean, the Kings' depth would be really rough after that. I mean, I don't think they trade all of these guys, but you have Sasha Vezenkov. He can play your backup 3-4. Trey Lyles can play. He's been pretty good for them. Chris Duarte. But after that, I mean, especially if you end up moving Davion as well. I mean, Davion's a DNP most nights, so it really doesn't matter that much, but we're getting much worse. I think the Kings should go. I think this is the team that should go start hunting. it's time. You need a consistent second option. Sabonis is good. He's not a second scoring option, unfortunately. He's just not.
I don't think he can always be that.
Yeah,
No.
he's a really good player. He's a hub player, and he's not a good enough hub player on a Jokic level to be the second scoring option on your team.
And I love Malik Monk. Like he's one of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. Malik Monk.
He's so fun.
But like he also can't bring that every night. Like he has plenty of kind of quiet games as well. De'Aaron Fox is amazing, and he can definitely be the number one. They just got to find a number two right now.
Yeah.
And they have expendable contracts and players that other teams would definitely want. So them making a star push would be pretty big for them.
Yeah. And I think Davion has some value. He's been DNP for them, but I don't know, man. Like if Davion is your backup point guard on a lot of teams, I mean, a defensive-minded backup point guard is hard to find, especially for teams that struggle with defense. I don't know. Maybe the Pacers bring him in to be your backup point guard, but they have Nembhard, but Nembhard's been super banged up this season. But like the Pacers, the Bucks would probably be interested in acquiring a Davion to be your backup point guard instead of Campaign. So I don't know. I think the Kings' flexibility with what they want to do could be pretty interesting. But I wouldn't. I think it's possible that no moves get made, but I would think Kevin Huerter could be a guy that really gets moved. I think especially when I'm glad you brought up the Timberwolves point.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a good fit. A team that needs to take a bet on some shooting.
Yep.
So. Yeah.
Well, we've gone through a bunch of rumors.
Yeah.
Right. What else is happening in NBA?
Well,
about All-Star returns.
Yep, All-Star returns. Yeah. Let me pull that. Let me pull it up.
Let's see.
I also think there's another team that's worth talking about.
Okay.
But they can't do anything. Okay, I got it.
All right.
But the other team that we can talk about quick before because I think this is a good thing to finish off on. The All-Star returns, we can finish off on, and then the Suns. The Suns is the team that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I think the Suns are in one of the most unique situations of any of these teams that are hoping to contend this season. They can't move. They can't make a move to improve this roster. This is the roster that they will be rolling out there. Nobody's taking on the Nurkic contract. Let's just be real. You don't have the assets to help people take him because you would need to give up a first round pick for someone to take on Nurkic.
And like a lot of the assets they do have, like they need those players. Like they need Grayson Allen on that team really bad. They need Chimezie Metu on that team really bad. Like they can't afford to trade those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and no, I don't. Nobody wants these minimum guys. This roster is just hilarious. I mean, I'm on Fanspo right now. It's literally 3 all-star level players, Nurkic, Grayson Allen, and then just all minimum level guys. Like all minimum guys. This team was really bad for a stretch there. They were sub 500. Beal has came back and they have looked a lot better. I will say that.
Beal, he changes things to that team. Like obviously you add a top 40, top 50 player to a team and they're better, but like the process of them being better with Beal, like you have to watch to see it. And letting Kevin Durant and Devin Booker kind of run the team as far as scoring, that's just good offense by itself. But having a shooter like Bradley Beal and a passer like Bradley Beal, like a pass away at all times, it's so hard to defend. It really is. And now KD's hurt again. And I don't know how serious of an injury that is, like if he'll be out for weeks or if he'll come back soon. But now with him out again, it feels like they've taken another step back. They just lost their last game to the Clippers. They kind of just smoked them. So
Yeah.
They're having a weird season for sure. And you saw that report about Kevin Durant being like frustrated with how things are going, and it's like,
and then he said that wasn't true, but okay, KD, you said that last time too, buddy.
yeah,
I
don't buy it.
No, and honestly, I can't fault them too much. I'd be frustrated too. I mean, you put all your eggs into your basket to come to Phoenix because the GM and the new ownership group promised that we would build a contending level team, and you're still sitting at the 9 seed, barely above 500. So,
yeah,
I can't disagree with him too much there. I would be frustrated as well. I do think it's a little unfair because this is your doing. You and Booker wanted to fucking trade everything that you have for Bradley Beal. And I honestly think this team would be better if they just ran it back with the same roster they had last year and just upgraded on the margins,
Yeah.
Because I think it would have been much more balanced. I think the operational levels of it would be a lot better. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the All-Star voting. So, LeBron and Giannis lead the NBA in votes. Giannis is leading. Face of the league, we run this. Giannis FC is so up right now. Especially we up by 170,000 votes. We're up then. And then the top 10 in front court for the West is LeBron, like I said. KD is 2. Jokic is 3. AD, Kawhi, Paul George, Sengun, Wemby, Chet, and Cat. Rounds that out. The guards for the West is Luka, Steph, Shea, Harden, Kyrie, Ant, Ja, De'Aaron Fox, Klay Thompson, and Austin Reeves, rounding out the top 10. Front court, Eastern Conference, Giannis, Embiid, Tatum, Jimmy Butler, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, Mikal Bridges, Kristaps, Kyle Kuzma, and Paolo Banchero. Guards, Tyrese Haliburton. He's chain snatching all around. He has 1.38 million votes. He's almost snatching Curry's All-Star chain as well.
His PR is crazy.
He does have crazy PR. I did not see a single Tyrese tweet when they were on like a 5-game losing streak, and he was like shooting 4 of 15 every game.
No.
All of a sudden, he has 2 good games against the Bucks, which is not hard to do, by the way. Not impressive. I'm not moved. If your guard has a good game against the Bucks, just take it and he hasn't been good the rest of the year, just take it as a fluke. Malik Beasley, Cam Payne, and Damian Lillard guarding front court players or backcourt players is not it. But Tyrese, Damian Lillard, Ben asked recently, we're still up on that mark as well. His PR is also nuts. Trae Young, glad he is getting respect from the fans this year. He deserves to be an all-star, and if he's snubbed for a certain someone that's also on this list, I will be upset. Donovan Mitchell, Maxey, Brunson, LaMelo, who hasn't played in like a month. Derek White, and DeMar and Drew. But all I'm going to say from this voting, clearly the Celtics have a super team. Every single one of their starting 5 is in the All-Star voting. So
yeah, doesn't mean they're all going to make it, but like
no,
the fact that they're all there is impressive.
Drew Holiday PR also still doing work for him as I see. Podcast rep legend Drew Holiday, love you, buddy, but you are a PR legend. You got anybody that you would like to see on this list that isn't on this list? I
mean, Devin Booker not making it was a shock. Like, he really has no motion, no pull at all. Devin Booker,
dude, which is crazy because he's a vibes guy that everybody likes, like younger fans like.
He's got an aesthetically pleasing game.
He's got he dated Kendall or Kylie.
He plays for a big market. Like him not making it was a surprise.
Which he'll probably be an all-star, but he might not. They might just give it to KD. They might not deserve 2 all-stars, even though Booker deserves to be there. Harden deserved to be there last year, and he got snubbed for Drew Holiday as well. So wouldn't be surprised, but. I do think it's interesting. Randall is not anywhere on the front court. I think he's more deserving all-star than a lot of these guys at the bottom of the front court list. Mikal, Kristaps, Kyle Kuzma, Paolo. He deserves to be above any of those guys, which obviously,
yeah,
this is fan voting. So don't take it too seriously. This is only going to determine the starters.
Yeah, the media and coaches vote is going to be a lot different. Like,
yes,
it's going to be less of a popularity contest than the fan vote.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
Very
West guards, I thought, was staying on the Booker topic. Like, I thought that was a pretty interesting order, because you've got Harden and Kyrie over Ant and Fox, and you've got John Morant at 7, even though he's only played like 7 games. Just interesting. And Klay Thompson,
got
Austin
that.
Reeves.
Josh got motion like that.
He's got pull for sure.
De'Aaron Fox unfortunately plays for Sacramento. And I saw people talking about it. Yeah, Sacramento is legitimately always playing late night games. They never get the primetime slots.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fans do not watch Sacramento games for that reason.
Yeah, and like Sacramento is a tiny market. And they're like super close to the Bay, right? So most Northern California residents are just going to cheer for the Warriors. So basically,
or the Lakers.
So unless you're living in Sacramento, like the city of Sacramento, you're probably not a Kings fan.
Yeah.
So
I feel like probably a lot of Kings fans aren't from California. It's probably from areas like around there. I wouldn't even say Nevada, because those are all Lakers fans, as we saw at the end of the season tournament.
Yes.
But it's probably, it's probably the states surrounding that where they don't want to root for the Lakers or the Warriors, so they root for the Kings. But yeah, I do think it's interesting. I think this is going to be one of the most, probably when we get everybody set, I think it's going to probably be one of the most controversial full all-star lineups, in my opinion. I think there's like 15 to 20 deserving players that you could put on there.
Yeah. The league is deep. Like,
do you think they should expand the rosters?
I think they should. But
yeah,
I think there needs to be 15 all-stars in each conference, because 12 is like, there are too many good players for there to only be 12 per conference. You've got almost 50 guys in the NBA right now averaging 20 points per game or more. You're like 50. Like, I think the all-star rosters do need to be expanded by a little bit.
Yeah, 15, or even putting just a extra spot on each side. Maybe instead of doing 2 wild cards, you do 3 wild cards.
Yeah.
Because I think 15 would be a lot. But, a guy like, and this has been a very big talking point, Derek White making the All-Star game. Really great player. But is he really better? Like, is he more deserving of All-Star than Dame, Trae Young, Tyrese, Donovan, Jalen Brunson? Like, no. There's 6 guys ahead of him, at least. They're all guards. And 4 of those guys are going to be on regular spots. And I'm guessing the wild cards in the East are probably going to be guards as well. There's a lot of good guards in the East right now. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so it should be interesting. We'll see what happens there with the voting. But yeah, looking forward to that. Also, Alperen Sengun getting love from the fans. Right? He does have like an entire country behind him.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit there, but still, I mean, he's only 80,000, 90,000 behind like Paul George, which is nuts. And he's like 120,000 ahead of Wemby,
Wemby and Chet and Cat for sure.
So, all right, awesome. Well, today's a little bit short of an episode. We kind of got through everything a little bit better paced, honestly. Obviously, there's one last person. And I wanted to point this out. Just because we talked about it earlier before we go. Just thought this was an interesting quote. Malik Beasley said that he could have gotten between 3 to 6 million from the Mavs or Lakers in free agency, but Horst told him he had a chance to start and win a championship in Milwaukee. He liked the vets on the Bucks roster, knowing he would utilize them well, and his shooting would help.
Yeah. I mean, I called it from the beginning that Malik Beasley was going to be a great fit on the Bucks.
Yeah, I need him in the 3-point contest. He's shooting like 47%.
He's an insane shooter. He just is. Like, he's such a good shooter.
Yeah, he is shooting like 57% on wide open threes, which is not. And then he's. It's not like he's not taking them. He's getting a lot of shots.
No, he'll get a lot. He knows how to get a lot.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we can wrap up the episode there then. Appreciate everyone who made it this far through the episode. Keep an eye out in case we upload anything throughout the week. Leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and peace out.
Peace.